Welcome to Frederick at its best. I'm Frederick County Executive Jan Gardner. And today we are here to celebrate National Telecommunicators Week, which occurs during the week of April 9th to April 15th. This week honors the thousands of men and women who answer and respond to emergency calls, dispatch emergency professionals and equipment, and render life-saving assistance to our citizens and to people around the world. Across the nation, in times of intense personal crisis and community-wide disasters, the first access point for people seeking assistance is a call to emergency services through 911. The public safety communication centers that receive these calls have emerged as the first and single point of contact for persons seeking immediate relief during an emergency. The Frederick County Department of Emergency Communications serves as our answering and distribution point for all 911 emergency and non-emergency calls for assistance. The department is responsible for the dispatching of fire, rescue, and ambulance services, Frederick County Animal Control, and law enforcement, including the Sheriff's Office, the Brunswick City Police, and the Thurmont Police Department. They also receive many non-emergency phone calls which are monitored, and the center coordinates all the after-hour communications for all county agencies, which is also fairly significant. I want to take this opportunity today to shine the spotlight on the employees who work at our 911 Emergency Communications Center. I want to thank them for their hard work and their service to our citizens. The 911 employees and many others in public safety often work when most of us are not at work, and that includes during holidays, snowstorms, and other kinds of events. So while we're at home enjoying our families, they are out hard at work taking care of life and death situations. So 911 communications is a 24/7 service every day, all year, year after year. In 2016, the Emergency Communications Department received 108,000 911 calls. That's about 295 calls on average a day. In 2016, they handled almost 462,000 phone calls, which include administrative calls and 911 lines. That's about 1,264 calls on average per day. That's up 18% from the prior year, from 2015. They dispatched 328,000 calls for service, or on average 898 dispatched calls per day. Again, up 8% from 2015. And they do all of that with an amazingly small number of people, which we're talking about in our budget process. There are many amazing stories to tell about 911 calls. Everything from helping deliver babies roadside who don't quite make it to the hospital, to this year we had a bear attack, which was unique, and to, unfortunately, situations of drug overdoses. Earlier this year, we recognized several shining examples of the outstanding work of our 911 employees. A quick thinking and expertise of our staff made the difference in the lives of local families when a woman delivered her baby in the front seat of her car on the way to the hospital. Her husband took instructions from the 911 operator, but he did continue driving to the hospital. In another example, we helped one of our neighbors, Loudoun County, Virginia, who suffered a loss of most of their 800 megahertz public safety radio system. A Frederick County 911 shift supervisor, who I believe is standing up here with me, quickly made arrangements to allow Loudoun County to use our talk groups on the Frederick County system. Due to the professionalism and care of the Frederick County 911 staff, there were no interruptions to incoming 911 calls for fire or law enforcement's ability to serve the public in Loudoun County. And I will tell you that outage was the better part of a day. It was not just a short period of time. In another more well-known example, a 911 employee was recognized with many others during the recent Chamber of Commerce Public Safety Awards. He was certainly surprised when a woman came on the stage to give him a hug and thank him for saving her life after she was attacked by a bear outside her home. The call taker kept the woman calm while arranging for first responders to come to the scene and help her. Through these and many other situations that happen every single day on a daily basis, our emergency communication team shows grace and professionalism under pressure. We truly are very blessed and fortunate in our community to have such dedicated staff. They work every day to save the lives and property of our citizens and provide outstanding service for all callers. I'm also very proud of Emergency Communications for being on the forefront of technology, particularly text to 911 services. A few years ago, the department launched a pilot program as the first jurisdiction in the state of Maryland and one of the first in the nation to be able to provide this service to county citizens and visitors. Text to 911 is an important feature for our citizens. And again, the customers could be people who live here every day or people traveling through. And they may be unable to make an emergency voice call to 911. This is especially important in our community because we are home to the Maryland School for the Deaf, and we do have a large deaf community. The service can also be helpful in certain other circumstances when a voice call can't be made, such as in a domestic violence case or when a caller is simply afraid to speak. Currently, the county's Text to 911 program receives about 28 messages a month. We do want to remind people that if they are in an emergency, they should use the phone or their cell phone to call 911 if possible, because people at the communications center not only listen to the caller, they listen to everything that's happening in the background, and that can be very helpful to them in providing assistance. So, and they can continue to listen if for some reason that caller would drop their phone. Emergency Management Division Director Jack Markey and Emergency Communications Director John Wolfel are always looking for ways to make the 911 center more efficient and responsive to our citizens, and they deserve our appreciation as well. And I do have to add that the director, Jack Markey, also serves on the State Numbers Board and is providing leadership for Next Generation 911. So the leadership from Frederick County continues. I do want to read now the proclamation in honor of National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week. Whereas emergencies can occur at any time that require law enforcement, fire, or emergency medical services, and when an emergency occurs, the prompt response of law enforcement officers, firefighters, and paramedics is critical to the protection of life and the preservation of property. And whereas the safety of our law enforcement officers and firefighters is dependent upon the quality and accuracy of information obtained from citizens who telephone the Frederick County 911 Emergency Communications Center, and whereas public safety telecommunicators are the first and most critical contact our citizens have with emergency services, and public safety telecommunicators are the single vital link for our law enforcement officers and our firefighters and EMS responders to monitor their activities by radio, providing them information and ensuring their safety. And whereas public safety telecommunicators of the Frederick County 911 Emergency Communications Center have contributed substantially to the apprehension of criminals, suppression of fires, and the treatment of patients. Each dispatcher has exhibited compassion, understanding, and professionalism during the performance of their job in the past year. Now, therefore, as the County Executive of Frederick County, Maryland, I proclaim April 9th through 15th, 2017 as National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week in Frederick County in honor of the men and women who diligently and professionally keep our county and our citizens safe. And I commend this observance to all of our citizens. And with that, I'm going to pass the microphone to Director Jack Markey.
Thank you, Madam County Executive. Public safety in Frederick County, as in many jurisdictions, is a team effort. It relies on citizens accessing resources appropriately when they're in need of assistance, and then someone to help marshal those citizens who could be on the best day or the worst day of their lives needing assistance from their government and volunteer fire and rescue or law enforcement agencies or public health. These folks up here represent the team that's hard at work today, out at the 911 center serving us every day. Public safety emergency telecommunicators are among the hardest working public servants. And that's not just because of their efforts to bring order to chaos, which they can only hear at the other end of a phone or at the end of a text message, but it's that they also unite all of the responders that are coming to assist a citizen or visitor in their hour of distress. So that effort can't happen without our partners. And our partners trust us because of the professionals you see up here with us today and those that are out working in the community today. And I hope Frederick County's residents are as proud, both of the quantity and the quality of the service that they provide. We encourage citizens that would like to give us feedback, positive or negative, reach out, let us know how we're doing. We set a high standard. Our goal is 95%. We want A students. These folks up here and the folks working in the center set a high level of professionalism as our expectation. So we want to deliver excellent service, quick service, and as County Executive mentioned, we try to do everything we can do within our power to use technology to deliver more service more efficiently, more quickly to our partners. And there may be larger, busier, better resource dispatch centers, but in my experience with the privilege of working on the Maryland Emergency Number Systems Board as a member for several years now, I've had the opportunity to travel around the state, and I will tell you that there is no better center anywhere in the state of Maryland, and that's part due to the leadership of the county executive, the commitment of the council, the commitment of prior boards of county commissioners that have made public safety a priority. In addition to them, all of our public safety leaders, we can't do the work without the cooperation of our police chiefs, our fire chiefs, public health officials, public works. We operate in a unique environment. We are the only center in the state of Maryland that is a municipal, county, state, and federal integrated dispatch center. When you have an accident along the highway, as you're avoiding those accidents going down the roadway, we are integrated between law enforcement, fire, EMS, CHART, the State Highway Administration response team. All are coordinated out of one center, and all are united in that one purpose of serving our community. So thanks to these folks here. Thank you to the county executive for her support, and I offer my congratulations not only to the folks up here that are county employees, but also to our city, our state, and our federal emergency telecommunicators who we touch on every day. We got 8 counties and 4 states we communicate with regularly, along with our 4 key partners here, along with Fort Detrick and our other federal entities. So thank you for your appreciation, and I'll hand the microphone over to Director Wolfel.
Well, I got one for him, so then you can pass it down to your team that's with you.
I'd like to thank all the staff at the Department of Emergency Communications for their hard work and dedication day in and day out. The county is very lucky to have such dedicated employees that are ready to handle calls 24/7 every day, whether it's an emergency or non-emergency call, and come to work in weather that most stay home in. Even though we've seen significant increase in call volume over the last several years, staff remains committed to professionally handling each and every call in a kind and nice manner, which goes a long way when someone's in an emergency. And we all know that through our training, and we greatly appreciate the way you guys stay under control day in and day out with the things you're faced. And I'd like to thank the county executive for this proclamation, and it means a lot to the department. They remain behind the scenes, mostly hidden and aren't heard from, and they do a great job day in and day out. So I know our employees greatly appreciate this proclamation. Thank you very much.
I'm Christy Dutrow, Administrator of Quality Assurance and Training with Frederick County Emergency Communications.
Barry Williams, I'm an Emergency Communications Shift Manager. I've been proudly employed for 17 years here.
Kevin Willis, I'm an Emergency Communications Specialist 3. I've been employed with Frederick County for a little over 5 years now.
I'm Nicholas Moreland. I'm an Emergency Communications Specialist, and thank you for this honor and the recognition.
My name is Tom Ward. I'm a Communications Specialist 1, and I've been with the county just over a year now.
Carly Brown, I'm an Emergency Communications Shift Manager, and I've been at the county 10 years.
Brian Easterday, the Administrator of Technology at the Emergency Communications Center in 23 years.
Phil Lambert, I'm the Administrator of Operations at the Communications Center, and thank you very much for the recognition.
Tabitha Brooks, I'm an Emergency Communication Specialist 1. Thank you.
Okay. I want to thank all of you who have joined me today and all the rest of the staff who is at work right now at the 911 Emergency Communications Center. It's really my honor and privilege to acknowledge all of you and thank you for the good work that you do. I do think it's also an opportunity for us to remind the public that when they call 911, I was taught as a child to know my name, know my address, and be able to communicate, and that we need to remind as adults to train our children that way. Also, I remember what my dad told me when I learned to drive, follow the mile markers. So if you stop somewhere and there's an accident, you can tell the person on the phone where you are, even if you're in another state. The more information you're prepared to share, the better off the response is going to be. And so people should think about these things and talk to their family about being able to provide good information when they call 911. I also have to say that being nice and being kind is a great theme. It's a great theme for everybody everywhere because people who call are certainly stressed out and having a bad day. And just being able to know that somebody on the other end of the line is compassionate, being kind, and listening to whatever their concern is very helpful. So I thank you for your dedication. I thank you for your long hours and your sacrifice for the people in this community. I know I certainly appreciate it. And I really want the people who are out there watching to know that Frederick County is a better and safer place to live because of the great work that all of you do at our 911 Communications Center. So thank you for joining us for today's proclamation.